A little over 20 years ago, Infiniti introduced a new flagship luxury three-row body-on-frame SUV to America called the QX56. Now at the time, the QX56 was essentially a guzzied-up version of the Nissan Pathfinder Armada, and about a decade ago, Infiniti decided to rename the QX56 to the QX80. Now it's been about 15 years since we've seen an all-new version of this flagship luxury barge, but today I'm actually out here at Milk Studios in West Hollywood, California to finally take a look at the fully redesigned 2025 QX80. It has an all-new design on the outside, it has a new body-on-frame construction underneath, and under the hood, it has a new twin-turbocharged V6 with more horsepower and torque versus the thirsty old V8. So now that we're finally seeing this new flagship SUV in person, let's go ahead and take a first look. Now the current generation QX80 is literally the last three-row Japanese big SUV that came with a V8 engine. And I'm sad to report, however, that for 2025, the V8 engine has been replaced. And that's because, again, everybody's going to engine downsizing. But what you're looking at here is a new 3.5 liter. So this is a 3.5 liter gasoline direct injection twin turbocharged V6. It's part of the VR engine family that also underpins, of course, something like the Nissan GTR or the Infiniti Q50 Red Sport. The engine, of course, has been bored out by a half liter, and with its twin turbos and direct injection, Infiniti says this is producing 450 horsepower, which is 50 more versus the old 5.6 liter V8 and 515 pound-feet of torque. That's about 102 more pound-feet of torque. So even though it's a smaller engine, this has pretty much near the top of the class power. Really, the only thing that has more horsepower and torque versus this vehicle is Jeep's Grand Wagoneer with the twin turbocharged Hurricane straight six engine. It all goes out through a new 9-speed automatic transmission, so 2 more gears versus the previous generation. And Infiniti wasn't ready to talk about fuel economy figures yet, but they did say that this should get about 20% better MPG versus the old V8. So the old V8 got around 16 MPG. This should get closer to 20 MPG combined, which again should be a pretty good number for those of you who are looking at a vehicle like this. Now, this engine is not electrified in any way, so it's not a hybrid or a mild hybrid. The company wasn't ready to talk about an optional powertrain. This is again going to be the only powertrain at launch. And this vehicle is a big body-on-frame SUV. It can tow a maximum of 8,500 pounds, which is the same as the previous generation. And while we don't have 0 to 60 times, I tested a V8 version for 2024 that did it in under 6 seconds. So I would estimate this is going to be at least that quick, if not quicker, because again, it has more power and torque. Infiniti wasn't ready to talk about the curb weight figures. The old one was over 6,000 pounds. I'd estimate this is probably going to be that much, if not a little bit more in terms of the curb weight. But let's go ahead and close up the hood and talk about the exterior styling of this truck. Because if you guys saw the QX monogram, which was a concept car that they showed almost 2 years ago, Infiniti took a lot of styling cues from that concept and kind of just turned it into a real-life production car. And I have to say, this has a lot of presence to it in person. Now, first of all, this car will launch in 4 trims, from the base pure luxury sensory to this autograph trim. This is new, or it makes the return of the autograph because last year you couldn't get that top trim. You can see the grille, the double arch grille, has been enlarged, it's been widened, it has an illuminated Infiniti logo, which, by the way, that's their new 3D animated style logo, which has a slightly revised look to it, where it's illuminated. If you approach the vehicle, it has kind of like a welcome lighting sequence where it will light up, it'll go into the headlights and whatnot. You can see the headlights themselves, full LED design. You have an LED daytime running light. You can see LED turn signals, although they are not sequential when they are on. You can see you have an LED low and high beam. The design of the headlight kind of reminds me a little bit of like something like the Hyundai Palisade. It has that trendy divorced look from the daytime running light to the lower portion here where the actual headlight is. You can see there are some functional air openings here. This is to create an air curtain over the brakes to help cool the brakes. You have some active grille shutters here. And then you can see the Infiniti grille also kind of creates and tries to mimic bamboo. Bamboo trees is what Infiniti says. It's a really interesting design. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think of the actual look. This color is also called a dynamic metal. It's a color that really is designed to show off the flowy lines, but also the new masculine and boxier look of the rest of the profile of this SUV. Now, moving over to the side profile, this is still riding on a body-on-frame construction. Infiniti says the torsional rigidity is up about 56% because it's a new frame. You do have an all-independent suspension, front and rear. This autograph trim also has an adaptive suspension along with the first ever air suspension. So this car can raise itself as much as 2.4 inches in its off-road mode or lower itself up to 2.8 inches when you're kind of like in an access mode. I don't have the final ground clearance figures yet, Right now, the car is kind of like in its standard access mode, which again, I love the boxy profile of it. Now you can see looking at the wheels, these are a 22-inch wheel that's included on the autograph trim. I believe the base versions will have a 20-inch wheel, but they fill out the wheel wells nicely. It's riding on a Bridgestone Alenza Sport all-season tire, riding on a 275 with by 50 series R22. You have all disc brakes, obviously, and I also like the kind of two-tone multi-spoke design of the wheels. It really, again, fits the body lines and character profiles of this vehicle. And you can see there are some functional vents here on the front fenders. The side mirrors, you can see, are electrically folding. They have a power fold feature with the integrated turn signals. And then Infiniti says in terms of the dimensions, this vehicle is about an inch longer than the previous generation. The old one was around 210 inches long, so this is going to be around 211 inches long by the numbers. Its wheelbase should be around 121 inches long as well. Infiniti says this is about the same width at 80 inches, and it's a little bit taller as well. Now, above me here, which the vehicle is very tall, I can't actually show, reach over it. It does have a panoramic sunroof. Infiniti says that panel roof is standard on every trim of the QX80, which is a great feature. The old one did not offer a panel roof, so I think a lot of people are also going to appreciate that. You can see the autograph trim here. It reminds you've got the fancy model with the autograph badging here and this really nice looking cursive script. It also has some, dark chrome accents around the vehicle as opposed to the bright chrome accents. And then looking at the rear of the truck, you can see it reminds me a little bit of course, the QX60, which is their newest model today until this version goes on sale. But you can see it has that full-length LED taillight design, LED turn signals. There are actually 300 LEDs, individual LEDs in the actual taillight module. That's standard across the board. It creates for a really interesting and standout lighting effect, especially if you guys see this vehicle at night. You can see Infiniti is spelled out boldly around the back. There's also that QX80 badge, which new four-wheel drive badge here because this car comes standard with their all-mode four-wheel drive system. It's standard on this trim, optional on the Pure and the Luxe trim. I also like the integrated rear spoiler over here where they also cleverly hid the rear wiper underneath the spoiler here to kind of clean up the overall look of this truck. You can see down here on the rear bumper, the autograph has a slightly unique design to it. No visible exhaust tips, which I'm okay with. Most vehicles are kind of doing away with that. You have integrated parking sensors. Remember, with the tow package, this vehicle can carry up to, or tow up to 8,500 pounds. Now, usually I'm not able to actually show you guys what the engine sounds like, but it's a new twin turbo V6. Infiniti said I could fire it up really quick in this enclosed space, so we won't let it run for too long, but let's go ahead and take a listen to what that V6 sounds like. Now, I really like the sound of the old V8. I have to admit, this V6 has a nice throaty growl to it that kind of reminds me a little bit about a V8. I should be driving this truck sometime later this year. Now, looking at the cargo capacity, because this vehicle is slightly larger on the outside, only an inch, Infiniti says they were able to repackage the interior to create more space. Now, they didn't have final cargo figures just yet, but as you can see, a third row is going to be standard. It seats 3 people across. Infiniti says the space behind the third row is about 30% larger versus the previous generation. That would essentially, in theory, put this at around 21 cubic feet of storage space. So that's a pretty good, like 4 cubic feet more, 5 cubic feet more versus the previous generation. If you fold down the third row seat, which is power folding, it will expand the cargo to around 57 cubic feet of space. Again, that's around 20% more versus the previous generation. That figure I actually got by multiplying the old figure times 20%. We don't know the full cargo figures just yet with everything folded down. The old one offered around 95 cubic feet of space. So I imagine it's going to be similar, if not a little bit more. Remember, you can get vehicles in this segment that have over 120 cubic feet of space. That's kind of the beauty about this class. This car, however, will only come in one standard lane configuration. So if you do want more, be sure to check out some of the other rivals. So now that we've talked about the exterior of the new QX80, let's go ahead and hop into the interior. And first of all, this is probably where Infiniti spent most of the big bucks, because if you guys remember my review of the old model, it was just incredibly dated because, again, it dated back to almost 20 years ago in terms of when it was actually designed. Now, this model that I'm showing you is the autograph trim, so it has the upgraded semi-aniline leather. Let me first go ahead and talk about the door panels. You can see the door panels themselves have some really high quality materials. You have some actual leather stitching along the top portion here, leather stitching here with the contrast stitching. You have this beautiful matte finish wood trim with the actual real metal pieces that kind of accentuate and go through some of the wood panels. You can see the window controls. They have a new look and switch gear to them. It's one touch for all four. The Klipsch audio system, this is the 24 speaker reference premier sound system. So this is again a big upgrade versus the Bose Performance series in the previous generation. There are actual speakers in each of the headrests here. And Infiniti says that they worked with Klipsch and Panasonic to really develop one of the best sound systems in the industry. The seats themselves, they are heated, ventilated, which is going to be standard on the luxury trims and up. And then if you guys go for sensory trim and up, you'll also get front massaging seats with 3 different levels. That's the first time we're getting a massaging seat on the QX80. And if you guys go for this autograph, you'll have massaging second row seats, which I'll talk about when we get into the back seat. But let me go ahead and climb inside and show you guys the rest of the cabin. Now, first of all, it has that nice, commanding step-in height. You can lower the vehicle up to get that better step-in height, but if I shut the door has a really solid sounding thunk, which remember, this is built on a new body-on-frame chassis, which is nearly 60% stiffer. Now, the one thing I noticed, this door is not a soft closing door. So if I just click it, it doesn't actually soft close. I was surprised because of the price point of this car. So again, you have to be bothered to actually shut the entire door. But once you're in here, man, oh man, Infiniti really just upgraded the interior tremendously, because the old model, if you guys remember, they did update it with a 12.3-inch display. Now, however, every QX80 comes with 2 14.3-inch displays. So you have a 14.3-inch display in the instrument panel, another one here in the center stack. This also has a new Google Android operating system in it, where it has Google built in. It has the Google Play Store. And as you can see, my phone is connected. It has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I also like the way it looks, it kind of floats over the background, where you can kind of change that actual backdrop. Down here, you also have a separate 9-inch touchscreen, where this allows you to basically control the climate control functions. I like how Infiniti, again, has kind of spaced it out. There's also a heads-up display on this car. That's the first time Infiniti is offering a heads-up display. And you can see here, there's a new steering wheel with a kind of like a really interesting 2-spoke look, where it has some combination of modern but also some retro old school looks. This car is also the first Infiniti to get their Pro Pilot Assist 2.0, where it does offer hands-free driving capability on certain highways where the road is mapped out. This car also has an actual built-in dash cam right here, where the dash cam allows you to record in front of the vehicle, on the outside, behind the vehicle, and on the inside as well. If you need to record something, you can kind of do that at the push of a button in the infotainment system. The steering wheel itself has a power tilt and telescoping look. The wheel also has really beautiful leather with the contrasting stitching. I also love how thick it feels. It also has paddle shifters. It has these new touch-sensitive controls here, which are nicely illuminated. And then in terms of the rest of the interior materials, you can see, just like the door panels, you have beautiful leather stitching, which, by the way, this is kind of like a burgundy colored leather. You have more of that beautiful wood with the metal kind of going through the wood to kind of add some depth and texture. More beautiful leather stitching along the entire upper portion of the dash. The ambient lighting in this car also is now customizable. If you guys go for the sensory trim and up, you'll have a 64 color ambient lighting system. So right now, it's not actually on, because I have the vehicle in the studio, but you can actually change the color out. Infiniti, I think, showed it off as like a purple magenta color when they first showed it off. Now, in terms of the infotainment system here, you can see, going to the native system, it now finally has Google Maps built in. So if I go to the GPS there, you can see huge upgrade in terms of the map quality and resolution. It essentially looks like what you find on your computer when you pull up Google. It also has voice commands, so I can do things like, okay, Google, take me to the Hollywood sign.
All right, Hollywood sign, let's go.
So as you can see, the voice command works extremely well. It works basically as good as any other Google Android operating systems that you're going to find. Now, in terms of the camera system, there's also some new camera views in this vehicle. If I push this button here, you can see it pulls up the full 360 panoramic scan view. It also gives you a top-down view. You can also change the color of the vehicle to match your actual car. So you can see you can scroll around the car. You can see everything around it. You can also go to an individual camera view. You can also go through like a hood. You can also show the front camera. You can also do a see-through view as well, where you can actually see basically where the front tires are, and it kind of tries to project almost like through the hood. That's really good if you're trying to place the car through a car wash, for example, or you're trying to get really close to that car in front of you without actually dinging the vehicle. So again, big upgrade in terms of the tech department. This car really needed it, so I'm happy to see that. This vehicle also has massaging seats. There's a button here on the actual seat itself, or you can go into the screen here to turn on the massaging seat function. You can see the native system has much better graphics. It's really quick, it's really snappy. This is also a really early pre-production car, and I'm really happy to see just how quick and easy it is to use. So I think a lot of people are going to be super happy with this. Down here you can see there is a volume knob, an actual knob with a button here to skip track forward and back or to tune the vehicle out. You can see this 9-inch display basically allows you to control the climate control functions. You can go into your mode here, and that allows you to select your different drive modes. You can see it looks like there's 6 different drive modes. You can also adjust the air suspension and put it into that access height or the high height. You can also switch the 4-wheel drive system. There's basically an auto 4-wheel drive system, which is nice because some competitors like a Toyota Sequoia doesn't offer an auto system like this. There's also the 4 high setting. No 4 low though. I was surprised to not see a 4 low function. I wonder if Infiniti will eventually offer that. Down here in the rest of the center stack, you can see your transmission selector is this push button controller, which I actually am surprised they went with the push button controller. A lot of brands are either doing like something here on the column. They got rid of the big shifter, but again, this frees up a lot of space. More leather stitching along the center console here, along here, a little bit more storage. You can see, open this up, your wireless phone charging pad is here. My iPhone 14 Pro Max fits really nicely. 2 USB charging ports, and then here, I forgot to show you guys the key. Hallelujah, Infiniti has a new key fob, which is fantastic. I actually love the way this key looks. It's an evolution of the old key, and then that updated key, you can see it includes buttons for remote start, lock, unlock, open up the trunk, and panic. And I believe this car also offers a digital key function where you can use your phone as a key. Cup holders over here. Then you can see the center console is nice and padded with lovely burgundy leather and the black leather. Open this up, you can see the autograph trim also includes a cool box. So you can basically turn the cool box on here. It turns it into a refrigerator. I think Infiniti said you could fit like 6 big bottles of drinks in there. So perfect for in terms of road trips. Above me here, you can see big panoramic sunroof. That's standard across the board on every trim. It goes into the second row, which is nice. The old model didn't even offer something like this. You also have this beautiful suede material in the headliner. You have that digital camera review mirror, which Infiniti says they've improved the quality and the resolution as well. And then over here on the glove compartment, you can see it opens up the traditional way. It's actually a pretty decent size. It's damped and it's lined with felt. And then these seats, as I mentioned earlier, I believe they adjust in like 16 different ways. Heated, ventilated, massaging. This is the semi-aniline seat, and I have to say, it feels really plush. I love the way the speaker also looks with the Klipsch audio system. There's 24 speakers in here, remember. But overall, if you guys have been waiting for Infiniti to finally give us a modern cabin, this is it, and you can probably expect this cabin and all the tech to eventually trickle down to the other Infiniti models in the coming years. Now, as the flagship vehicle for Infiniti, a lot of people actually use this as a family car, and this is where, again, Infiniti has added space because of better packaging for this all-new 3rd generation. Now, first of all, what I'm showing you here, the autograph trim only comes with captain's chairs. So this model here will seat up to 7 people. If you guys step down to the sensory and below trim, Infiniti will offer a choice between either captain's chairs or a bench. The reason why this one only comes with captain's chairs is because these seats are also massaging. That's right, the massage function carries over from the front into the back seat. Only the Lincoln Navigator, I believe, offers massaging second row. These are also heated and ventilated. If you guys go for the sensory trim, you'll get the heated and ventilated second row. The other trims will, I believe, just have a heated second row, not the cooled function. The 3rd row is also heated. But let me go ahead and get back here and show you guys the space. Now, I don't have final legroom figures just yet, but Infiniti of course says that this model is going to have more legroom space versus the previous generation. The old one, I believe, had around 40 inches of legroom in the second row. So again, this is, plentiful amounts of space. I'm 5'7", so I'm not the tallest, but you can see I can stretch out back here. These seats are now power adjustable. They're 4-way power. They also offer a recline function, so I can sit back here, cross my legs pretty easily. I will say the headroom space does come down because of that panoramic sunroof. You are eating into your headroom space a little bit. But you can see in terms of the door panels, there's the ambient light. I have it set to a green color right now. You have beautiful real leather stitching, more of that beautiful wood with the metal, lines going through the wood, piano black plastic here. The speaker grill actually, it looks like it lights up. However, that's actually just an LED light that kind of projects onto the speaker, so it makes it look like the speaker is illuminated from behind, but it's not. The one thing I'm noticing is missing is no power or manual retractable sunshades. That's a silly oversight, Infiniti, so I'm a little surprised by that. Down here in the center area, you can see you have triple zone climate control. Your heated and cooled seat function is going to be an actual hard button here. You have 2 more USB-C charging ports, a power outlet here, and then if you open this up, you can see nice big cup holders, and you can also go into this little screen here to adjust the heated and ventilation controls. You can also adjust the seat controls and go to the massage function. This screen is definitely a nice touch. graphics and the resolution has also been greatly improved. Open this up, you can see it's got a pretty decent sized center console area where you can, hide a few valuable items in there, which is a nice touch. But let me go ahead and hop into the second row of this vehicle. So to do that, Infiniti also made some big improvements here. So if you guys remember my review on the old model, when you wanted to fold down the seat bottom or the seat cushion actually flipped down and then flipped forward. That wasn't good if you had a child seat latch anchored down into the seat. So Infiniti has solved that by essentially just giving you a button here. You just push and hold it for a couple seconds, and then the seat itself will kind of push itself forward, but it doesn't fold down into itself anymore, which means you can now leave a child seat anchored in here, and that's great for you, again, you moms or your dads out there who actually have a bunch of kids. That way you can still get into the third row and not have to worry about that child seat getting in the way. Now, once I get back here, you can see this car is wide enough to accommodate 3 people across. Now, the old model had around 28 inches of legroom. I don't have the final legroom figures just yet, but as you can see, for somebody my height at 5'7", there is a ton of space back here. I can actually sit back here for a longer trip and be fine. This seat, I believe, is almost all the way back. My knees don't come close to that. The floor is also nice and low because of the independent suspension. There's a flat floor here, so you can actually sit 3 people across, and again, the seat is pretty wide enough to do so. The view out here is also pretty decent. There are power outlets back here. There's a USB and another USB over here. The seat also offers like a kind of a recline function where you can push a button here. There's also 2-level heated seats. That's included if you guys go for this autograph trim and up, which is nice. Again, some competitors offer the heated third row. It's nice to see Infiniti is offering that. The headrest you can see is pretty nice. You have rear seat air vents or third row air vents back here as well, along with some LED lighting. So overall, if you guys plan to use this as a family car, the QX80 is definitely one of the most roomiest that you're going to find in this big truck-based, 3-row luxury SUV segment. So with a little under 13,000 sales of the previous generation QX80 here in America in 2023, this vehicle is obviously an important part of the Infiniti lineup. Sales were actually up compared to 2022. So now that we're finally taking a look at the fully redesigned third generation, I really think that Infiniti has pulled out all the stops here, and they finally have given us a modern 3-row body-on-frame SUV that can go toe-to-toe with the best from America, the best from Europe, for example, the best from the other Japanese markets. Really, what I love the most about this vehicle is just the interior. I think Infiniti really knocked it out of the park with the new 14.3-inch displays. The engine, that twin-turbo V6, offers near class-leading power, and fuel efficiency should basically be in the norm. Even though this is not a hybrid vehicle, I would like to see Infiniti eventually work on something like that. The look of this car, it definitely looks a little bit like the QX monogram, but again, looks are always subjective. I think that Infiniti did a pretty good job with kind of carrying over that concept car into a production car. I'll be looking forward to seeing this vehicle out in the real world when it goes on sale, which, by the way, if you guys are looking to get your hands on this vehicle, it will be going on sale at your local Infiniti dealerships this summer. So you only have to wait probably about 3 to 4 months. And the company already was ready to talk about pricing. If you guys actually want to buy the base pure version with rear-wheel drive, that's going to start at around $82,500. So if you guys take a look at the old model, that's a pretty whopping price increase, an $8,000 price increase versus the 2024 model. I'd argue, of course, that price increase is worth it, considering all the additional luxury and technology this car gives you. If you guys want 4-wheel drive, it's around $3,000 extra. Most of you are probably going to go to the luxury trim for an extra $7,000. Luxury trim is going to include a lot of niceties that people want. If you guys want this autograph trim, however, this is the one that has all the bells and whistles that go head-to-head with like the Lexus LX 600 Luxury, the Cadillac Escalade, fully loaded versions of that. This model is going to start at $110,595. That comes standard with 4-wheel drive, so you don't have to add 4-wheel drive. And it should basically come with everything. There's no additional options. But again, we won't know that final detail until this car shows up at your local Infiniti dealership. But obviously, the new model is no longer the cheapy option in the segment. But with all the new luxury and technology and power and the new chassis, this no longer needs to be cheaper because Infiniti has finally raised the bar. And I really think this is going to be able to go head-to-head with the best from all of its other competitors. Well, with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this brand new 2025 Infiniti QX80. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.